Hey guys, it's Jessica Fury, host of Dumb Girl Podcast. Tune in every Monday for new episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Welcome to Dumb Girl Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Fury. You guys are in for such a treat today, and I know I say that all the time, but let's talk money. We're going to talk creating money, investing money, building money, saving money, and spending money, because you have to spend money to make money. And Media Moussavy is here with me today, and he is the person who's going to talk to you guys about it today. He was a lender, and he turned into a realtor. He moved from one side of the industry into the other, and he is the creator of the Downtown LA Insider social media page, which is like, if you want to find out where to go for downtown LA, I would say, Media, you are the person. Welcome to Dumb Girl Podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. Great to have you here. There's a quote by Oprah, and it's, please be responsible for the energy you bring into the space. And you own that.
Wow. Can't say I've ever been in the same sentence as Oprah, but I'm honored.
No, you own it. Like, I walked into the room, and, you know, LA traffic sucks, I walked in, you're just like,
I was here at the booth, just, mixing some music.
Yeah, but that's awesome. That's so great. Even when I've met you at other events, you just always carry your energy in such a positive way.
Thank you.
Are you always on point like that?
I don't think I'm ever on point. It's funny, but I hear that sometimes, but I'm just me. That's what it is.
You wake up in the morning, you're just like,
oh yeah,
right in that good space?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have you always been that way?
No, actually, I haven't always been that way. I was never even a morning person. I mean, now I get up at 4:30 or 5, and right off the bat, it's literally this, you see. But towards the end of the day now, I'm kind of like, I kind of go deflate a little bit. Whereas it used to be the opposite. I was more of a night owl, and, mornings I was like, vampire. But now it's just what it is.
I'm an afternoon person.
Afternoon person?
Yeah, no, I am an afternoon person. I am on point in the afternoon. Like, my hours are probably 12 to 8.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm like 5 to 11-ish, and then I start kind of...
5 to 11, wow.
Yeah.
What shifted that changed from being...
I think productivity, maybe having a lot more on my plate, wanting more, doing more, and those hours in the beginning, in the early hours of the morning, it's kind of my time, and it's also the time where nobody's really reaching out to me. There's no emails, texts, there's no social media. Nobody's responding to anything from, 4:30 or 5 a.m. to 7 or 8. So I get a lot more done in those 3 hours than I do almost the entire rest of the day, especially days I have to be on the field. That's the time where I have my time, whether it's gym, whether it's journaling, whether it's setting out the schedule for the day, what I need to do, and then the things that, the veggies, the stuff you don't want to do, but you got to kind of get it over with, do that all in the morning. And then it starts my day off on a very good note.
Okay, between 4 and 7 in the morning, and you're not waking your wife up?
No, I'm actually pretty quiet, but if she was awake at that time, trust me, the whole building would be awake.
What are you doing? Because you're setting the tone of your day between 4 and 7 a.m. Mm-hmm. What are you doing during that time?
So the first rule is no phone for the first 30 minutes you're awake. So try doing that and see how hard it is, because we're so used to just, grabbing the phone. And the first thing you do, I mean, if you grab your phone, you're already in a kind of reaction state. Everything's coming at you and you're reacting rather than being calm, being at peace, and kind of getting your day going on the right note. So first thing I do is that 30 minutes is basically just doing I've been kind of getting into meditation and things like that. I know you saw Santiago at Forum when he was speaking, so I'm trying to do a little bit of that. And then just kind of going through the day, gratitude, doing the journaling, all of that. Been getting into that as well. And then setting the course for, okay, what am I going to get done today? And that's when the phone comes out and the task list comes, and basically set the schedule, go through certain emails and things that are high priority, get that all out of the way, and then kind of bucket things into what needs to happen, and what I want to happen. So the needs have to go first. So basically schedule that out, and then I get going.
Okay, so did this start as a realtor or as a lender, and can you go back to when you were a lender or the time before that started this?
Started as a lender, but more so, I would say the last 2 years more than anything. I think as responsibilities and tasks and compounded and business grew, there's just more on my plate. And in order to be effective and get all that done, sometimes there's just not enough hours in the day. So it gets me up. I'm the type of person, if I wake up, whether it be 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, there's no going back to bed for me. The mind just gets going and I take off. So it's a natural clock. I don't set an alarm clock. I just naturally wake up between 4:45 and 5 every day. And it's, you have a lot to do, and you have a lot that you want to do, a lot to live for, and business is growing. You're motivated. It gets you up. You
were a lender right before being into real estate.
Yeah, I was a lender for 4 years, and then I switched to the real estate side. It's been almost 4 years now.
Can you speak a little bit on the time that you were a lender? Was that something like prior to getting into that side of the business, was that something that you wanted to do, or was something that you went on in your life that you're like, I'm really good at money or working with money? What was it that you started to take that path?
Yeah, I had an affinity towards the lending side. Had family members that were in it. They never really let me get started with them. So I went, did the whole college thing, started my own business, all that, and then found myself in a space 4.5 years ago that it was like, okay, I can decide to do anything I want to do now. Wasn't working at that time, was going to kind of start off in a new industry. And I said, look, you always wanted to be on the finance and lending side, and you got nothing to lose now, so get into it. So went into that. I always loved the financing aspect of it. Real estate part never was really at the forefront for me. It was always the financing side because that's what I had been around. And I got into it. And honestly, I loved it. And that eventually ended up evolving as I moved out to LA and just as I started to be around more real estate professionals, which is why I went into the agent side. But we could talk about that part a little bit later. I'm sure you're going to ask.
You're from California?
Born and raised in LA, yes.
Okay. And then where were you living before being in LA?
So raised around the San Gabriel area, moved out to the Inland Empire, was out there for 8 to 9 years, and then moved out to downtown LA almost on a whim.
But I find it to be remarkable because you did tell me that you didn't like downtown LA, and now you do like downtown LA.
I mean, look, if you're from LA, you know what downtown LA was like. It wasn't a metropolitan city. It wasn't like a downtown in a very elevated way like a lot of other cities have, right? So downtown was like that sore spot for Los Angeles, but people think LA, they think Beverly Hills and West Hollywood, and everyone's like, yeah, and there's downtown, but let's not talk about that. So every time I would go to downtown, it was rough, it was tough, it was dirty, it was a lot of negatives, not a lot of positives. And I used to always wonder, how could anybody want to live here? Why would anybody like to live here? And so that was my perspective of downtown, as a lot of people were. But I came down here a couple times, did a couple deals when I was living in the Inland Empire, and as I started coming out here, something started calling me. I don't know if it was the hustle, the bustle, the vibrancy of it, but something called me, and I just literally made a decision that I was like, you know what, I'm going to get up and sell the house and move to downtown, and I did.
Where did you sell your first house?
No, it was the house that I was living in.
Oh.
Yeah. So it wasn't amazing. Like I was renting out there, so it wasn't an easy, I just literally got up and said, okay, we're going to sell the house. Sold the house, and a couple months later, I found myself in an apartment in downtown, and I was like, whoa.
That's amazing. What went on during the lending, as a lender, that you decided to switch to real estate?
So I was a lender when I still moved to downtown for about 6 to 8 months. The first 6 to 8 months, I was a lender. But as I'm in this new environment, the network that I'm starting to establish and gain, they're purchasing homes. At that time, you couldn't do a loan that was over $625,000 as a lender. That was the conventional or conforming limit at the time. And a lot of the people I'm meeting out here are buying $1 million, $1.5 million homes, things of that nature. And then at the same time, I felt like the lending side was very internal. You were in the office a lot more. You were dealing with a lot more paperwork and on the phone, whereas the real estate side, I mean, hey, we get to go see really cool homes. We're dealing with people face-to-face all the time. It's more external. And if you're extroverted, which I think I am to an extent, and you want to be out, you don't want to be in an office. So it was one of those decisions that was hard because I was doing very well at on the lending side of things. But the way I looked at it was it's taking one step back, taking a risk potentially to potentially take 3 or 4 steps forward. So just like I moved to downtown, I believed in myself in doing that. So I believed in myself doing this, and I did it.
Can you give a quick explanation to either a newer agent or someone who is a first-time home buyer, or someone who is just listening and they're like, they use the excuse. I like to look at it as excuses, or not, maybe not excuses specifically, but just reasons to not take that next step towards at least reaching out to a lender to actually find out that they have, most of the time have more spending power than what they assume that they have. And can you just sort of like break down like either the type of loans or the things that are available for people that may want to buy, and we'll use now as the time if they're going to buy as opposed to 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago, but just using like the time now, like what are the steps that somebody can take or the different loans that somebody can take, or even like how much if they were to take that next step?
Sure. I think it's interesting because I have a different perspective being a lender now, that I was a lender and now I'm a real estate agent. I think a lot of people go to the real estate agent first, and that's kind of backwards. The first thing you need to do is actually go to a lender to find out, what are you qualified for? Am I window shopping here? Can I even purchase a house? What are my options? And then you go to the real estate agent and say, find me the house. So a good real estate agent will say, hey, listen, you need to get pre-approved first. You need to go to a lender and see what your options are. And I think there's a lot of fear with the lending side. People are like, I don't want to go. They're going to tell me I'm not qualified. They're going to run my credit. It's almost like rocket science, but it's not as scary and difficult as people think it is. I think we make that up in our heads. So, there's for example, misconceived notion that you need 20% down to buy a house. You could buy a house with 3.5% down as long as you qualify based on income. There's programs like FHA. There's programs like conventional where you can do 5% down. I think they said the average down payment, I was looking at this last week, for a home is right around 9% down. If you average all the mortgages, like what people put down, it's 9%. So I think people think, wow, I need a big chunk of money. I need 20, 30, 40% to buy a house. No, you don't. I think on the self-employed side, I've seen a lot of misconceived notions that you have to be working for 5 years and have your own business for you to qualify. No, you don't. You could technically be in business 1 year. If there's sufficient income that shows there's a lot of lenders that could do 1-year programs for you as a self-employed individual. And I deal with a lot of those individuals. So I hear it both on, from my end, and I see that the shock on their face that they're like, wow, I could actually qualify for a home. I'm self-employed. I just started my business a year ago. And it is possible, but again, lending has changed a lot since I've been a lender. It continues to rapidly change. I try to make sure I'm abreast of what's going on, but at the same time, there's a lot of creative financing, creative programs out there that, look, they want you to buy a home. They want you to be able to, but they're going to make sure that they're not at risk so that, what happened in 2007, 2008 doesn't happen again. So I think the options are there. You need to just take that step. What do you have to lose to go to a lender and say, hey, what am I approved? What am I approved for? And even more importantly, I have clients that are not approved now, but this is what you need to do to be approved next year. So take these steps or don't take these steps in order to be approved.
What are some of those steps?
Well, it depends on your situation. I think with lending, everybody is different. So if it's self-employed, you have a little bit more control over that. So it's like, a lot of self-employed individuals have a lot of expenses on their tax returns. Maybe it's not showing or not writing off as much because you need to show a little more net income. It could be you have to pay off credit card debt, and that goes for both self-employed and non-self-employed individuals because that goes based on the debt-to-income ratio. So if that ratio is high and you have a whole lot of credit card debt, auto loans, student loans, things like that, sometimes you can't change the ability to make more income. If you're especially, working for a company, you can't say, look, I want an extra 50,000 this year so I qualify. Company's going to say, kick rocks, But what you can control is the debt aspect of things. So that's basically, look, pay off some of the debt you have, and that'll also in turn boost your credit score so that you could potentially qualify for what it is you're looking to qualify for. At the same time, not everything's possible. If you want to qualify for a $10 million house and you're making $50,000 a year, sorry, but I'm not a magician. Nobody is.
But from a realtor side, with the experience of a lender, because you're very strong in that area, in that aspect. And a lot of realtors, they know, unless they're experienced realtors, this is my perception, is that they know a little bit of it. They right. do like a little bit of reading on it. They do a little bit here, a little bit there. They have a couple apps that are really good. You could just stay right on top of whatever the fixed income is, 15% at a 15-year or a 30-year. But now coming from a realtor and somebody coming to you before even getting to the lender, now what's your strategy with that?
Good question, actually. It's funny because the lenders I work with are like, well, thank God, because you already pre-qualify them before you really even send them my way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A lot of real estate, agents, I mean, it's not their job to necessarily know it thoroughly. I think you should know the basics. and kind of know, look, if this person's telling you they're not working and they don't have a job, they're probably not qualified, but for me, I ask them certain questions. Then I know that these are the questions that as a lender, I would ask a potential applicant. And this would kind of start qualifying them. Are they even qualified? Could they be qualified? If not, what do they need to do to get qualified? So I'll ask certain questions, and I'll know based on those responses if they're ready now, if they're strong, what they're qualified for to an extent. I mean, obviously you need to run credit to figure that out, but I would say 75% of the way pre-qualify them, and then I'll know also which lender to send them to. Some of the lenders are a lot more proficient in self-employed individuals. Some of them are, look, the bread and butter W-2. This person's been working in a tech company 5 years, clean credit. I'll know who to send them to, but everybody loves those applicants. But yeah, I basically pre-qualify them before I send them over.
What are some of those questions you ask?
Okay, obviously, are you working? If so, how long have you been?
You ask that straight out?
Yeah, well, I'm saying, okay, look, I don't ask it like that. No. There's a right and wrong way to ask a question, right? No, so I ask them, what do you do for work and how long have you been doing that? That's the first thing. If you just started a job a month ago, you typically need to show employment history. Unless you're out of med school or something like that, where you could show the reason I haven't been working is I've been, working on my degree and now I got a salary, I got an employment contract, for a company and they're going to pay me this much per year. Then you could count that income. But if it's somebody that, you just started working at, let's just say, I don't know, a mall kiosk or a cell phone store and you've only been working 3 or 4 months, that's not going to count. You need to show at least 2-year history for that to work. So it's just painting a picture and getting an idea of, did this individual just start working? Have they been working? Are they in the same job? Are they in the same field? Because those are important things to ask and to know, because lenders will look at that. If you switch industries, for example, let's say you were in aerospace and all of a sudden you switch to tech. I mean, look, that's you could paint the picture that's the same industry, but lenders will look at that. You can't just do a complete 180 and say, look, I've only been in this industry for a month now, qualify me.
Oh, really? Yeah. Even if the income hasn't changed, or if the income has
it can now, yeah. But when I was a lender, they wanted to see, it was more so not the job that you're in right now, but the industry. Like, how long have you been working? You could switch jobs. Let's say you were at Apple for 5 years and you left Apple, and now for 3 months you've been working at Google. That's fine. It's the same field. Let's say you were working in accounting in one department and you're accounting in the other. It's the same type field. So you can't hit somebody for just changing their job. But if it's completely changing the field and it's not a salary job and it's something that's more, let's say, hourly, yeah, they want to see a history of you working in that field and making that money before they actually consider that as qualifying income.
What is the time frame that you would say that somebody should hold on to a pre-approved letter?
I mean, it depends in the market. I think right now things are rapidly changing with interest rates. So, for example, if you got a qualification 6 months ago and the interest rate was 5% and now we're at 7%, it definitely impacts your qualifying amount. It definitely impacts your payment, impacts a lot. So I think in a rapidly changing interest rate environment, you need to check it every 30 days. Or at least call your lender and say, look, I know rates went up. Nothing's changed with my employment. Nothing's changed with my debt. But, the rate's now not 5%, it's 7%. So the house I was qualifying for was $1 million. How much do I qualify for now? That could be 900, so it's important.
I find you to be a little bit of a triple threat. And this is the reason why. 1, you're a homeowner. 2, you've come from a lending side. So you understand the savings. If somebody comes to you and you're like, this is how much I make, I want to get my family or myself or my partner into a home, and you're a realtor. I mean, I may have to change. Isn't it a triple threat too? I may have to
I don't look at myself as a threat, but
well, in a positive way.
Yeah.
99.9% of the time, I'm coming from a place of just executing your business in such a way that's powerful. I think that's such a great strategy. And one of the things that I love that you do, and I'm going to say, you are so precise in all the work that you do. You've created this downtown LA Insider, guys. This downtown LA Insider. I don't even eat half the food that's on there, but I'm sold on every single one of the food that's on there. And I love how you have created in the digital space you sell yourself as a creator. Now you have 4 things: as a creator, as a realtor, and you execute that in your business. Can you now speak from the creative side, how you apply that to your business.
Yeah, that's there's a lot to that. So yeah, I think that comes down to marketing and branding. I mean, and what is a brand? A brand is not a logo. I mean, a lot of people think it's a business card. It's what I say I am. A brand is something that people identify you as, right? And that comes down to marketing as well. And I feel like if you have to tell somebody what your brand is, then you probably don't have a brand. And the same thing goes with marketing as well. I mean, my identity, a lot of my business is based on marketing, and it's, if you ask me what is your marketing about, I don't know, it's me. It's genuine, it's authentic. So it's not that I intended to go out and be like, I'm going to be this creative that does this and that. I'm going to make sure people think of me like that. It's not. I mean, with DTLA Insider, when I moved to downtown, it was, there was two reasons. One was to show my love for the community, which I absolutely fell in love with it. And if somebody like me who hated it could fall that in love with it, there's a possibility that other people can too. And I think a lot of people have this misconceived notion of downtown, which I did. So I was like, look, let me create this brand. Let me show people what that's about. It also shows off me as a personality and who I am genuinely. And it also allowed me to network within the community. And, contacts turn into contracts is the way I like to say it. And it's true, but it has to be, I'm not a slam dunk person. I'm a cold call you and hard sell you. I believe in relationships, and genuine relationships potentially lead to business. But you can't go in it thinking like, I'm going to create this relationship or this brand so that I can make money. Like that can't be the end result. It indirectly happens because of that. So when it came to the creative side of things, I hate being on camera. I never considered myself creative. I just kind of started dabbling into content and content creation, and I fell in love with it. I felt like it was a very effective way to not only market, but to have fun with whatever it is that you're doing and get yourself out there to people. So, with DTLA Insider, now that's led to a lot of business, led to a lot of relationship. It wasn't what I intended to do with it, but it has led to that, and that fed into the real estate side where it's all content. You see what I do. It's just content.
Yeah, but I like it because you have a strategy. And I like that. I was talking to someone yesterday, and we were just talking about selling at open houses. Mm-hmm. And this gentleman and he said, Jessica, tell a story. When you're asking someone questions at an open house, tell a story. And get them, almost turn them on to their vision. Get them so tuned into their story as opposed to, what is your criteria? 3 bedrooms, 3 bath. Get them in.
Yep.
Sit in the living room and what are you looking at? And I'm getting chills right now just because it's a story. And I love that. And when he said that to me, that's easy for me. That's so easy for me because what you're doing and what exactly that is, telling that story, you do that. And can you just speak a little bit more on, the work that you do now is so pretty.
Thank you.
It's so pretty. It's so clean. It's so pretty. And when it comes to branding, and I'm such a big fan of this, it's like, is it clean? Is it attractive? And does it have a lot of clarity? Those 3 things, and I'm in. Like, those are the most important things when it comes to creating content of any kind, whether it be a picture in the digital form or in the physical form. How clean does it look? Is there clarity, and is it attractive? And that's what you're doing. Can you just speak a little bit on that and why you do that and why it can also help someone's business?
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And I hope my content creators heard that. And that's why when I tell you it's one space too far this way, or there's a certain white hue that I don't like on there, and I tell you to change it and you tell me it doesn't matter, it matters.
Nice job, guys.
You see that? Like, why the hell? He's like, what do you mean change the font? Like one little thing. There's no dot at the end of that. There's this. And look, at the mercy of, or at the sake of, you don't want to focus on that too much where you don't get anything out, but it's your brand. That's your image out there. So, I am a little bit, people, they say that you're anal about it, and I am.
No, listen, I'm all about it. Yeah. I think it's perfect.
Look, you just mentioned it, so somebody remembers me by that. Some people don't look at it and say that that's not important. Just pump out the content and do what you have to do. But I'd rather not get it out if it's not accurate or a good representation of me or my business or my brand. So to your point, when you said about storytelling, I think marketing, content, all of that is about emotions. It's about feelings. You're not selling or leasing a house or an apartment. You're selling a lifestyle. You're selling a feeling, a vision of their future. Like, what are they going to feel like living there, you know? And so it's that story, tailoring a story and putting them in that environment and making them visualize it and see that it does much more than you could ever do by telling them. Like, oh yeah, it's 3 bedrooms, it's 2 baths. Oh yeah, I could see your kid's house here, you know, or your kids living here and growing up and this, that. Now, creating content around that, sure. I mean, even a good stager, I was talking to one a couple of weeks ago where I was like, there's 3 bedrooms in the house. Who is the potential purchaser and user of this house? A family with a kid, or, you know, a growing family. And so one of the rooms is obviously tailored to a child. You know, there's a baby crib in there. So did we tell them that this is perfect for a family and with a baby? No, but that's almost like the same thing, visually showing them that. And it's the same thing I do with my content. You know, it's giving them that feeling of this is what it would feel like living here. This is what it feels like being in this environment. And this is what you could potentially feel like too. So,
which came first, the content or the community? Because you have both of them. You've done both of them. I mean, I'm a part of your community, and you're creating now a community in the real estate world.
Good
Media,
question.
I'm going to applaud you for this.
Thank you.
You know, it's
appreciate
awesome.
It. I don't think that way, but I
appreciate
that.
Well, I'm a person who's also, I'm a consumer, I'm a creator, and I also am one of those people, and I spoke about this in my episode with Matt. It's like, I am such a person, I observe from so many different angles, and I just see it as, how can I apply it to my business? Or that's really cool what they do. I just like to observe. So I would definitely say you do that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, now what was the question?
That's why I got to really back in.
That?
No, you built a community. You built a community,
first,
and which one came first, the content or the community?
I would say the content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the content created a whole different and new community that I never would have had if it wasn't for that content. You know, when it comes to content and brand, people gravitate towards what's authentic and what your brand is, and some people don't, and those are not your people. But there was a new community that came about because of that content, and it continues to grow that way, whether it's with real estate, whether it's with downtown LA, or anything else. So I think it was, which came first, the chicken or the egg? It was the content.
But that's cool.
It is cool.
It's kind of like focusing on yourself and seeing what works for you, and then growing stronger and being like, this really works. And then you slowly get like 3 people here, 10 people here, 5 people here, 50 people here. And I think that that's so important that you've worked so hard on that. But I want to ask you this because you started to bring it up, and I was like, oh, this is such a great story. And I want you to tell a story about it.
Okay.
You have one of the buildings that you represent is Thea.
Yes.
The penthouse.
Yes. Penthouses.
And that was 2 years ago that they built them.
The Thea has been around for 2 years. The penthouse was just launched about 5 months ago.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. How did you get that job? How did you get in that connection?
Okay, this might be a long story. We're here. Okay. So moving into downtown, I live in a building, and all these buildings are typically managed by one management company. It's called Greystar, and they manage a majority of the lease communities and purchase communities all over the country. So created a relationship with a lot of the people that work in leasing down there and just the staff. And from that, started doing a lot of DTLA Insider content, which is anything and everything to do with downtown. So I wasn't in real estate at that time when I first moved to downtown. So the whole objective of DTLA Insider is to show everything about downtown. So I would go, that includes real estate. So I would go to these buildings and say, hey, can you let me showcase the penthouses or showcase the rooftop and show my audience, which is downtown based, what this is all about? They said, sure, why not? It's not like he was trying to sell us or anything. And I really wasn't. It was just for that DTLA Insider page. And from that, then I switched over to the real estate side, and I started kind of planting the seed, like, who's representing the penthouses in our building? I know there's a lot of them that have been vacant for a long time. Do we have a broker that represents them? And that wasn't a overnight yes type of thing. That took about 8 months to kind of create the relationship with the staff, create that trust. Then they saw him with the agency, and they said, you know what, we'll give this guy a shot. So the building I live in was the first one that I started representing the penthouses, and then COVID hits a month and a half later. But even though that happened, nobody had lived in some of these penthouses. We leased them all, even during the first 2 months of COVID, when everybody was leaving downtown. So it was a success. From there, Thea's in the same management company that manages it, different owners. And I said, hey, can you guys introduce me to ownership over there? Let me have the conversation and see if they'll allow me to represent the building. And I had also done content for them. We had put it on DTLA Insider, so I had that relationship with them. And they're like, okay, now it's a different relationship. You're asking for a real estate representation side of things, but we've seen what you've done there. We know who you are. Let's do it. And so they gave me the green light. And then from there, I mean, now we have 6 buildings that I'm representing.
That's amazing.
And a lot of that's DTLA
amazing.
Insider and just relationships.
I love that. And then I will say, because people tell me this all the time, it's like you put a little seed and you just put the seed in the dirt, water it, whether you water it a week later or however many days that it's needed, but you nurture it, just leave it and watch it grow. And that's literally what your story told. Because it wasn't like, I'm going to cold call the fuck out of this Thea building and keep calling, John Smith, keep calling him. And then all of a sudden you've seen so-and-so come in. You sort of just like, it's like you showed a little attention. You then did what you had to do. You maintained the relationship. What do you find to be some of the most important things when it comes to either maintaining relationships or building relationships with the people that you're working with? What do you find those to be?
Being genuine, being there. Look, everybody knows if you're there for the wrong reason. So to your point, I mean, I had known people at Thea for 3 years, and it happened as a genuine relationship of, I want to do something for you. I want to create content for you guys. I wasn't going after anything real estate related at that time. And then fast forward 2 or 3 years later when I'm on the real estate side, then I went and I asked of something, but they saw that, look, he's already provided for us. He's there. Anything that we need, if we ask him for content or if we ask him for anything, he's there. And that's genuine. I didn't call and say, look, you're not going to give me what I want. Bye. That doesn't work with any relationship, So the maintenance aspect of it is just like even a human relationship. You can't just be like, look, okay, now we're married. Cool. That's it. Bye.
A human relationship.
Yeah. Is that the wrong way to say it?
They have robots building.
They do. Well, now they do. Yeah. I've heard.
But I love that. Wait, so I want to just tap on that for a little bit because I've met your wife and she is amazing. I was like, I'm going to have her come on just to sing. I'm just going to have her sing. How do you, make time? Would you guys have such a busy life? Yeah. But I think what I just want you to just piggyback off of what you were saying was like, even tying it into your human relationships, your partnerships, whether your friendships or your significant other. What are some of those things that, because business gets in the way sometimes of our emotions. And when we come home sometimes, or we're on the phone with our significant other, we want to find a reason to be reactive to somebody we're so close with. It's easy because we have a different type of relationship. We can't do that to clients. We have to always be, for me personally, always be on point. But I know that, being in an intimate relationship, you have that different connection. How do you maintain being in that I don't know, that genuine, kind, loving space that I also see when you guys are even together?
It's doing things with intent, with meaning, being present. You have to, it's not something that I would say I have, subconsciously, that I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be there. It's something that I have to tell myself, look, this is something that's very important to me in my life. It's just like anything else. If you have an important job, important client, she's very important to me. I know without her, I wouldn't be where I am today. So yeah, I could work 24/7. There's times where she has to be like last night, she's like, you've literally been working from 4 a.m. to it's 9 p.m. now.
What have you guys had for dinner last night? It looks amazing.
Oh yeah, she ordered some Persian food from this place called Tehranro in Koreatown. Absolutely nuts. But I would have forgotten to eat if she didn't order that. I was like locked up doing my thing. But I think with that is, when I used to have free time, which is rare, and I'm like, okay, I just want to relax and do nothing. Now, if I have any free time, I have to make sure that I'm dedicating it to what's important. Because just like we said with relationships and maintaining them, it takes maintenance. It takes being there. It takes being genuine and being, having that connection with that person. If not, that's just going to go, So it's doing things with intent. It's with meaning. And so I know that that's important to me, so I do that.
I think that because you have so much passion in the things that you're creating, that passion spills over into every other area of your life. And it's very unintentional. It's just a natural thing, a natural quality that you have. And I think people close to you will also see that as well. It's just a genuine consistency, whatever it is that you're doing in your business, that it's like your intention is also your action. It's like, I already know that I have to wake up and meditate. And by the way, I'm going to teach you to take that time during your day to meditate. It's normal for me. I know that I have to do it. I got to, and I think that's so awesome. It's awesome that you have that. I want to leave our listeners with something that can really help them. Okay. I want you to give, whether it's a person who is looking for a house now, presently, or in a couple of years, I want you to give some suggestions how, 1, someone can save money, 2, someone can invest money, and 3, how someone can invest in themselves in any type of way.
I mean, I think number 3 is the most important one. It's believing in yourself. It's taking that next step. I've done that multiple times in life, and I know that I can do it now. So I think investing in yourself, investing in your knowledge is going to pay you off more than anything you can in terms of monetary or otherwise. But how can somebody save up for a house? I mean, save money. What am I?
$20 a week, $100 a week.
You can. If you tell yourself you can't, it's just like anything else. You can. And I think people look at it, you're looking at somebody that's already there, just like anything else, right? They didn't get there. It took small little steps daily, small, sometimes unrecognizable little steps that eventually got you to that point. So whether it's for somebody saving $100 a day or for somebody saving $1 a day, it's just take those baby steps, take tiny little steps towards whatever that goal is, and have a goal, and you'll make it.
And what about investing money?
I think that's a long conversation. I think investing money, you need to have that money first to be able to invest it. So I think that comes secondary to you saving up for something like a house. We could touch on that on another topic.
Yeah, no, but you're such a ball of information. I like to ask all my guests 3 questions before they leave. 1, what is a non-negotiable in your morning routine?
No phone for the first 30 minutes.
I like that. Yeah. My phone's on do not disturb.
Yeah, mine's
and
in
airplane
room.
Mode.
It's a completely other room because I could hear that thing vibrating if it was in that corner. I'm telling you, or I think it's vibrating, but it's not.
I'm surprised I heard the earthquake. Usually I'm out.
I woke up and I don't think it was because of the earthquake.
Can you leave the listeners one piece of suggestion or advice that they can apply to their daily life, their business, and or their relationship?
Just do it. What are you worried about? I think we're too worried about what everybody else thinks, and that's why I never did content in the first place. Put yourself out there. Put it out there, and your vibe will attract your tribe.
Yeah, that's so true. And what are 3 qualities? What are 3 qualities any of your peers would say about you?
Hopefully, good things.
And what would those things be?
I don't know. I don't want to get too self-gratuitous here, but
believe so much into yourself. I would say that you're genuine.
Yeah, I want to hear it from you.
You're genuine.
Okay.
I think that you have a way of seeing a vision about something and just executing it. It's almost like you're fearless, but you move past an internal self-doubt. And you have a lot of confidence around that. So those are my 3.
I like those. But I will say this. Everybody has self-doubt. It's just getting over that. Just taking that step and
You're such a cool person.
I think so. My wife thinks so too.
You're such a cool person. I think that's awesome. Media, where can everyone find you? Plug yourself.
You can find me at Moussavy on Instagram, or you could find me at DTLA Insider.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. And you can follow me at Jessica J. Fury. You can follow the real estate page at Jessica Fury Real Estate. And you can follow the podcast at Dumb Girl Podcast. I'll talk to you guys soon. Media, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica.